Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Mind Heist, episode 134. And we're going to get into questions, aren't we, this episode?
Yeah.
Actually,
Questions.
I just took a proper look now at your hat. Is this a new hat?
No, I've had it for years now.
Bro, this is a good hat. I'll tell you why it's a good hat. That colour is quite a rare colour.
It's like one of my favourite colours.
It's a very rare, good colour, bro. Like if you go to a shop, any clothes shop, how many t-shirts, jeans, whatever, you're going to find that colour? Like, it's rare.
See, this colour, bro, this is like the modernisation of my heritage. You know?
So it's like it's like fez. But
Yeah, it's like a fez hat, but it's got that whole, you know, it's got the bill.
I would say, is it burgundy or is it maroon?
I'm going to go with maroon. I mean, it's all the same, isn't it? Let's have a look. Let's Google maroon and let's Google burgundy.
MashaAllah.
I'm going to go with maroon. Oh, burgundy is better. Burgundy looks closer. Yeah. Do you know what? It just depends on the lighting, doesn't it? One day it's going to be maroon, next day it's going to be burgundy.
That's good, bro.
It is what it is.
Okay, so we're going to go into emails, and let me pick one. So let me just see this. Okay, no, that's not really a question. And then we've got a comment. You know, we got YouTube comments as well that we can go through.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, someone commented, their name is Test Fest. That's interesting. So we did episode 106, and they said it's about hijrah to Turkey and picking a country to move to and blah, blah, yeah? They said a little ebook would be appreciated.
Ah.
No, we were kind of talking about that on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
No plans for an ebook. Oh yeah, and then we got this. I think it's a brother. He sent us his marriage CV.
Oh, really? Is this an email?
Yeah, this
Or is
is.
this I thought you were going to say this is a YouTube comment.
No.
I was like, whoa. Shoot for the stars.
I mean, should we rate him, bro? Should we go through it?
No, do you know what? I must have not come across that email.
Bro, let's go through it, bro.
You want to go through it? Oh, God, I don't know if this is appropriate.
I'm not going to say his name at all.
Okay.
So, mashallah, he made a nice dua for us. May Allah honor you in the dunya and akhirah. I've benefited from the podcast, alhamdulillah. Great. He said, I would like to please share my marriage profile in case you or any contacts would be able to help in this endeavor. Okay, so he's got full marks for English. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, so he said he's male, he's 23 years old, he's 5'11". Okay, what's 5'11" in centimeters?
178.
Oh, is that it?
I'm 5'11", so I can.
Oh, so you know, okay.
Always
I
going to
thought
be
he
178,
might be
179, something
okay,
like that.
180. I thought. Anyway, okay, and he is Sunni upon understanding of first three generations. Summary: medical doctor, student of Islamic knowledge, specializing in Quran. Endeavors, additional endeavors, cryptocurrency, calisthenics.
Whoa. Hold the phone.
Yeah.
Endeavor's cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So you know what? Like, I don't know. I've been looking into this a lot, right? And I've got interest in it, but like
Okay.
putting that as in my endeavor is cryptocurrency is almost like saying putting like my endeavors is the dollar, or the pound, the euro.
I guess what he means is investing.
Yeah, but it's anyway. I'll let it slide. It's just a bit of a weird thing to put.
No,
as the
bro,
number
you
one
can
thing.
you can give critical feedback afterwards. Okay.
Okay. Then.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna remember though. That's the thing.
How do you say it? Calisthenics.
Someone shouted at me the other day for saying it wrong. I was in a cafe or something, and I said it. And
I feel like it's
I don't wanna say it
th, but you say it's t, like calisthenics. Anyway, some sort of exercise
Calisthenics.
thing, bro. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then entrepreneurship. Okay. He said completed medical school in East London and staying there to work in a hospital. He's British citizen and he's Pakistani and he's raised in the UAE. And his English is his first language, but he also speaks Urdu and Pashto and Arabic. I don't know what levels those are. And he has no kids. He's never been married. And what else? Preference. Okay, this is interesting. Preference in potential spouse. Preferably Pakistani, would consider South Asian, Arab, open to others. So he hasn't really given a preference in the end. Oh, I guess he said Pakistani. Observes a preference in description. Observes jilbab/abaya minimum, and niqab would be great. Emphasis on seeking knowledge and implementation, raising kids upon this, and likely homeschool. Preferred qualities: excellent character, good focus on home building, and starting a sizable family. Sizable family. Inshallah. Cooperative, work on rectifying diseases of the heart and implementing actions of the heart. Non-argumentative, soft-spoken, strong worship. Very enthusiastic about the deen. Loves the Quran a lot. So that's what I've got, bro. That's the email. I think we've left it. It's vague enough that no one would be able to identify this brother. So that's good.
You sure?
So, yeah, why not? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't think. I think there are.
If you weren't married, I'd say, did you write this, bro? Is this like a secret ploy to get married?
I'm not Pakistani.
I know.
I'm not a doctor, and yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I can't vouch for the brother. I don't know him, but I guess if someone wants to find out more about him, I guess they could email us. So that would get the objective of his email done. What did you want to say about cryptocurrency?
It was just a bit weird to say. I considered it weird to say one of my interests is was it crypto or was it Bitcoin?
Crypto, yeah.
Oh, he said crypto. Oh, for some reason I interpreted that as just specifically Bitcoin because I was like, oh, that's a bit too much.
Yeah.
I would have just said like if it's maybe it's because I've just been like really deeply looking into all this stuff, but I wouldn't have. If you're looking at cryptocurrency as an investment, then you should have just said investing. But if you're looking at it as like I don't know. It depends how you look at it.
Some people, I mean, investing can be, like we've discussed before, it could be a hobby. So, I mean, I can see that.
That's like me saying, my endeavors, Tesla stock. You know, like specifically.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. May Allah make it easy, bro. I've never done a CV like this, or I don't know if you've ever done something.
Me
like that.
neither. No.
It's a bit of a.
I mean, I think what I get from it is it's quite formal, and I understand getting married is formal, but you know, okay, if he's 23, then he's going to marry someone who's, 18, 19, 20, 21, like this, right? And I don't know, someone of that age reading this, they might be a bit like, yo, this guy's formal, and I'm sure maybe he's not formal in real life, but here he's quite formal, so it just gives off that vibe. But I don't know, I don't actually have too much more to say about this.
Well, it's not a question, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not a question, but I think it's good, bro. If somebody's working on, he said he's interested in cryptocurrency and entrepreneurship, and he's a medical doctor. Well, he can't be a doctor now at age 23. I guess he's studying to be a doctor still.
He could be. Could he not?
Well, if you start at 18, you've got 7 years. So,
I don't know.
25, you'd be done. But you do start doing residency in the 5th year, maybe.
Yeah,
so maybe he's doing residency now. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's good, bro. What do you think about his preferences? Do you think they're fair enough? Do you want me to repeat it? Yeah. So he's just saying, observes jilbab or abaya minimum, and niqab would be great, and emphasis on seeking knowledge and raising kids upon this, likely homeschool, and starting a sizable family.
Yeah,
it's quite open, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are many people like
the whole CV thing is so alien to me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I just can't. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if people. Although, do you know what? With all due respect, there is a lot of brothers and sisters that go through such long journeys to get married. So I don't want to.
Yeah, so you got to be like willing to do anything, isn't it? Sometimes, like, imagine somebody's, they really want to get married. Maybe they've been trying for a couple of years, didn't really work out so far. You would probably tell them, like, look, do whatever it takes. Send you, like, if you need to write CV, send it everywhere, do that. If you need to meet people in this kind of whatever event, go and do that. Like, do whatever it takes, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think I'm being a bit inconsiderate, actually, because, well, alhamdulillah, I didn't have that issue. So I've never had to get to the point where I had to, what's the word I'm thinking of, where everything had to resolve into doing something like that, like a CV. So,
do you think do you think it's hard to get married? Let's say you're 23-year-old man in the UK. Do you think it's actually difficult or not so much? Or
it depends on so many factors. Like, a difficulty could be people's expectations of what someone should be like how ready they should be, or what readiness implies to get married. Should they be economically ready? At what level? Should they be emotionally ready? At what level? All these sort of things. What are the expectations of parents and families, etc. I'll give you an example, a personal example. When I went to ask for my wife's hand, I was still at university, okay? And then my dad, who I was sort of explaining the situation to him, he was like, he was like, who are these people, in a nice way, but who are these people that would accept you when you're still at uni, you haven't got a job? Like, he was having a go at me for rushing to get married before I'd even finished.
And he thought, toe.
But he thought that my in-laws didn't know that I was still at uni. He thought I hadn't told them yet, and that he's going to go and embarrass himself by going with me.
Yes.
Saying, "Oh, my son wants to marry your daughter," but by the way, he's still at uni. But then when I told my dad, no, I've already spoke to her dad, and he's fine with my situation or whatever.
Yeah.
My dad was like still super confused. He's like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's like I was talking to my wife about this, about mahar, right? And it's like she was explaining that for example, in the Gulf, she was talking about the Gulf. In the Gulf, if a woman lowered her mahar, like let's say normal mahar, let's just do it in pounds for people, it's 50k, let's say. Normal mahar is 50k.
Yeah.
If now a woman says, mine's 10k, for the sake of Allah, make it easy, blah, 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 I'll say 10k, then straight away, the parents of the man are going to start saying, well, what's wrong with her? Like, why are they lowering it so much? So it's like you're trying to do a good thing, but then because the society's norm is that, it's like, what's wrong? Why are you doing a sale, discount? Why are you trying to discount, So it's difficult, man, sometimes, isn't it? That's why I'm saying that, because it's the same like what your dad was thinking, like for you, absolutely. but for the man side, like if you no, not for them. It's like if they would accept their daughter to marry a man who's still in uni, then what's wrong with her? It might be that.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah, maybe he thought that. I mean, that's not what he said, but there could be something like that in his mind. And that's the thing. Like, not to give away all my wife's secrets, but I don't think that there were too many people before me. Do you know what I mean? I think things I'd come quite early on in her sort of, I don't know, marriage quest, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
I don't think she was actively looking to get married at the time, so it just sort of happened. Yeah. So it wasn't like a matter of, the best will do. I think it was just everything sort of lined up in a way.
Yeah. But you can imagine that this issue wouldn't happen if the families knew each other from a distance at least. Then there wouldn't be this thing of, oh, well, what's wrong with her? Annie.
This is such an importance of community cohesion. But at the same time, do you know what? I'm gonna. Here's a bit of a side phenomenon that I think I'm observing on the internet world and in the world in general.
Okay.
Because there's such to say the forbidden two words of social media, because there's such an emphasis on social media use, right? I think a lot of people are displaying themselves in a particular way, and this is who I am, and blah blah blah. But then what happens is, when it comes to getting married, they'd like to marry someone that's not in their locale and that's quite far and quite distant, only so that they can reinvent themselves or align themselves in reality to what they have displayed online, right? Do you understand what I mean? It's a bit of a conspiracy, but I've got this theory that this is what's going on, bro. I think like we all perform, we're all putting on a performance online and stuff, and then when it comes to like getting married, like you don't want everyone to know your business locally, right? You don't want to marry someone who then all your friends know, and then all their friends know, and this person knows, and that uncle knows them, and this, like, I don't know. It's just a bit of a sort of phenomenon I'm seeing where
I can understand how that could be true, but
people
it's
admire
bad.
their privacy, isn't it? People admire that kind of privacy.
But that's bad, bro.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's good.
Because this is a thing, yeah. So up until the point where you get married, you don't want that legacy to follow you or that reputation to follow you, but it should follow you. And that's why you should watch out from the time you're baligh until you get married, and even beyond that. You should have this awareness of your reputation and how you're acting in public and stuff, isn't it?
I see it with some brothers here locally, and it's just like, you know, they all go as far as to marry someone from a completely different country because they don't want whatever legacy they have.
I potentially felt that in terms of wanting to be aligned to what I present myself as publicly, like online, right? Yes. But I saw that as a good thing. Like, okay, I set certain, you know, people view me a certain way based on what I put out, right?
Yes.
And when I got married, it's like, okay, I'm going to live up to that. Like, whatever my wife was expecting that I'm like, I have to do that, you know. And it was a good thing because what I put out there was good, so let me make sure I'm like living up to it, you know. So it was a good thing in a way, like good kind of pressure.
Absolutely. And I think this is important. Like, marriage is often a time where people do reinvent themselves, I think, in a way, in a good way, you know. I think there's a lot of factors that come into it. I think you're basically, and there's another human being like living with you, you know, and because of that, it takes up a lot of your time in a good way. A lot of the things you wasted time with, or you distracted yourself with, or whatever, those voids are kind of filled. And so I think a lot of people do naturally change themselves, mature up, and, you know, they get those responsibilities, especially men, they get different responsibilities and stuff. And you'd like to think they'd get more responsibility. And yeah, it's an opportunity to reinvent yourself. And sometimes if you're still attached to, you know, the environments where you were, I guess, single and stuff, it can drag you back. It's a bit like an addict, you know, like an addict falls back into his bad habits if he's still in the same environment that he kind of was taking drugs in. That's probably an extreme example, but your environment does change. I think there is a benefit of moving to a different place, you know, surrounding yourself with different people. Absolutely, like socializing with married people. You know, we spoke about that before, both for the man and the woman. I think especially more so if you're a minority in a group. You know, you should be, the majority of your friends or the majority of your friends group should be married people. You don't want to be the only married guy in a group full of bachelors. Absolutely not. And likewise for women, you don't want to be the only married woman.
Well, it might be counterproductive for women.
Yeah, but well,
sometimes women complain about their husbands a lot.
Well, you know what? I don't even lie, bro. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It could be dangerous. You know, I'm not going to obviously say who, but there was this woman that was friends with my wife, and like my wife can't deal with seeing her because every time she sees her, she's an older woman. She's like, you know, maybe my mum's generation. Do you know what I mean? But every time she sees her, bro, immediately it's just like, you know what I mean, just won't stop talking about her husband and this and that and this and that and the problems and stuff. It's like my wife's just like, I don't really know her. This is the first thing she tells me.
Yeah.
You know, Allah musta'an, it's so dangerous, akhi.
Bro, before we go on to the next one, yeah, check this out. This little thing I noticed. Say anything, yeah? Say whatever it is, and then just add at the end in a good way. Yeah, say something like negative, but then say in a good way.
Oh, God. This podcast is really derailing and it's quite bad in a good way. Wait, no. That makes no sense.
Doesn't it sound funny? I noticed like anything you say, yeah, it's like, you know, he's like really selfish, but like in a good way. It sounds funny no matter what you say.
Oh, man.
Let's get to the next question. So we've dealt with this marriage CV one. I think this is just a quick one saying that podcasts were not getting uploaded somewhere, so that's fine. Okay, there are a few YouTube comments. What's this? So episode 119, another solid episode. It's great to have guests who draw traffic to your channel. But saying that, I love the fact you guys are organic, natural, and keep it grassroots, not clout or views chasing, so to speak. If other guests like Smile to Jannah make an appearance, that's cool. However, if not, you're doing an amazing job regardless. 119 episodes strong. I've mentioned before, I look forward and wait for your episodes every week. You guys never disappoint. Alhamdulillah. So that's just a comment. Very nice comment. You know what their name is on YouTube?
Go on.
Avoid the vaccine.
SubhanAllah.
Oh man, okay. This is like remind me when you were saying a COVID party or whatever.
Yeah, bro. This
Oh,
is
avoid
it.
the vaccine. Okay. Right. So that's that. And then let's see this other. Okay, no, that's just a request for us to put like do like show notes.
Okay.
Show notes.
Well, so that's on like the description, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think we're gonna do that. Oh.
Absolutely not. I would like to. Actually, I benefit from it now that I'm gone on like longer YouTube videos. I'm like, just get to the bit where you talk about the thing that I want you to talk about, and then obviously
We can do timestamps, but
it takes a long time because it means I have to listen to the whole podcast again.
okay. Someone said, "Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you tell me how to learn marketing? And if you spoke about it in an episode, can you tell me the episode number?" I don't know.
Sign up to my new free marketing course at www.aminoutspokenomar.com.
Damn.
I mean, I want to clear this up right here, right now. Why have you got so many different names?
No, but you know, the listeners, they don't even know that I have so many names.
I'm not going to say what the names are, but I
Yeah.
just want to know what's going on.
I just think that there should be your government name should be different to your public name for privacy reasons.
So like Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Yes, exactly. But you know my, well, you should know my name.
I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
but I told you what my
But I don't
actual
remember
name
now
is.
because you've got so many.
Whatever, man.
This is a good opportunity as a sidetrack because I just got this notification that I might be going on the Dadhood podcast.
Oh, yes, with Shuaib.
Yeah, this weekend, I think.
Yeah, bro, Shuaib's a good guy. And actually, I downloaded his episode to listen to it with Dr. Salman Butt.
Well,
Because what they talked about seemed interesting to me. So I'll look forward to that and to your
and then
episode.
we'll bring him on as well.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
mind, Ice, inshallah. Afterwards, I'll invite
You know, I actually met him like 7 years ago.
Oh,
I was invited to someone's house in London, and I went, and then he was there, and I met him. And then since then, I started seeing him, you know, because he does some, what does he do? He had a podcast, a different podcast, Ibn Battuta, right? He was doing that podcast, and he was on Iman channel, I think, a few times.
he's on a TV channel at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, and I've saw him around. I was like, yeah, I remember that guy. And then he joined our program, Muslim CEO program as well. So then, like, when I spoke to him there, I was like, yeah, you know, I met you 7 years ago. And he's like, oh, really? So,
Oh, really? I have no idea who you are.
yeah, it was kind of like that. But yeah, bro, inshallah, we'll bring him on. We could speak about fatherhood. It's interesting. He's got that podcast going on. Do you think, though, because I've spoken to him about this in with regards to the podcast and all that, do you think there is this kind of deep interest in, like, for young Muslim fathers, like, are Muslim fathers that interested in fatherhood and all the issues that come with being a father and what do I do? And do you think there's actually a thing?
I think this reminds me of a question. I was thinking to Joe Bradford speaking about finance, Islamic finance, and how he got into it. He was another podcast that he was on, and the shuyukh said to him, "Listen, if you want to specialize in Islamic finance, this is back when he was obviously trying to specialize. They said you just need to learn all of fiqh, you know." And then maybe later on learn Islamic finance or try and specialize. And it reminds me of this question a bit because I as much as like there are endeavors, and even I was part of an endeavor to sort of isolate fatherhood and speak about it in focus, it's inescapable to focus on it without addressing everything else that comes along with the responsibilities of a man, because you could talk about fatherhood and all the things you should do or we should do, but at the same time excluding everything else about being a man in general then makes all that advice a bit meaningless, because you need to be able to fit that advice within everything else that you need to cover as well, in terms of you know, all the other responsibilities. So
But then what about having, like, there is definitely a whole market, if you want to call it that, for motherhood stuff. So why not fatherhood?
I think similarly with mothers, I think there's a marketing ploy, a very successful marketing ploy with motherhood, right? But I think a lot of that comes from a I say Western, but like a neoliberal perspective that has isolated mothers and women in general to be their own independent kind of caregivers and own independent people, right? Exclusive from husbands or partners or whatever. And I think once again, that is also an issue. I think it's difficult to speak about motherhood without speaking about wifehood, or without the responsibilities of the househood. But then again, if you look at content that is directed at mothers, they do speak about everything to do with a woman, including, so it depends where you go to. Like my wife sometimes watches a lot of, she mentioned this recently, but like there's definitely a lot of, strong Christian women that talk about very traditional values, and motherhood is part of that. And she enjoys that sort of content. Kind of like, imagine like Elliot Hulse, right? But obviously for the female version, maybe less muscly. But yeah, that kind of thing, that kind of content and stuff. But once again, like, I don't think anyone really exclusively can keep up all we're going to talk about is fatherhood for the next, and I think you have to bring it in. I don't know how exclusive the conversation will be or the content will be.
I agree with that, but I think that's because men don't care that much, or they don't have much they don't identify with being a father as strongly as women identify with being a mother. Like it's like it's the same how men will gravitate way more towards like, how do I mean less and less these days compared to women, but how do I up my career? How do I get promoted? How do I get a raise? All that stuff, how do I deal with workplace politics? All of that, you would imagine men are way more into that. Women would be way more into, okay, how do I raise my kids right, get them like all the nutrition and education, all that they need, and keep the house in place, and maybe have a job.
The responsibility of a man.
Yeah.
They say women give birth and that's when they become mothers, or when women get pregnant, that's when they become mothers. That's what's often said. And then I remember thinking, but men don't really feel that until later on. I realized it wasn't because I didn't feel that until the child was born. It was actually because I'd actually already felt that responsibility way before the child. I felt that responsibility of providing for a family way before. So if you think about it in this particular angle, a man already feels responsible for his family, maybe when he gets married, or even prior to that, if he's looking after his own, his mother or his father or his sisters or whatever financially, okay? A woman gets married, and already, normally speaking, she's financially dependent on the man, okay? So the man already has a responsibility of another human being, right? And that's why I said earlier about marriage changing people, especially men, because at that point you're very responsible for that person, right? I'm not just looking after myself now, I'm looking after this other human being, right?
Yeah.
Then when a child comes along, although there is an emotional sort of euphoria there, you're already providing for human beings.
It's just plus one.
Yeah, what's different for you, bro, to just, buy nappies? That's the only real thing that you're going to add to your shopping list. You know what I mean? You're already buying loads and trying to fund for all this other stuff. When that baby's born, really, obviously buying a few new clothes, but a lot of that is going to get gifted to you anyway. The only thing really adding onto your shopping list that's completely new is probably nappies, and then obviously as they get older, that grows, but that's a very gradual process. Yeah. So for a woman, it's going to be a huge change because suddenly, she's responsible for a human being, right? But a man could argue that, well, obviously maybe not to that extent or not that sort of focus, but I've been providing for this household and keeping a roof over our heads for such a long time, and I'll just continue to do that.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, definitely.
Allah knows best.
I think with me, the way I see it is, I don't see general, because there's a few terms that we could use, right? There's parenting, which is like a real overall thing, okay? But I feel like fatherhood and motherhood are different things completely, okay? So motherhood would include, like you said, from conception or whatever the word is until like ongoing, right? Ongoing. And it includes all the stuff of like babies, like real small babies, all of that, changing nappies, looking after the health, feeding the baby, all of that, yeah? My feeling, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, my feeling is my job is not that. My responsibility or job is not that. You know what my job is? It's tarbiyah. I would use the word tarbiyah. right? So that doesn't mean I don't get involved as a father. It's just the way I get involved is for tarbiyah reasons. It's not for you could say the survival things of like feeding and this and cleaning and this. It's just like, it's more like tarbiyah. So that's how I see my role. That's why it's like, if I need for my son to grow up to be like confident, good, whatever, good character, whatever, if he needs to go out a lot and play and run and fall over and stand up, that's my job.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get it? That's how I see father. That's why when my kids or whatever, when they're like 1 year old, 2 year old, I'm not so worried about being a father. I don't feel any kind of big duty. It's when they, I mean, really, I'm feeling it a little bit more like now, like when my son's 2, 3, 4, the more they can go out, the more they're learning, the more they're interacting with the world, the more I feel like that's my job. But what I'm saying now, I feel like very few Muslim fathers get that message or feel like that. They feel like it's the mother's job and they don't see the tarbiyah part of it. Maybe, I don't know.
I think you're right. You know, I actually thought about this earlier today because it's interesting you say that, because that's just exactly the thought that crossed my mind. But I went, my son, who's 4.5 and he's just started school, etc. He stayed at my mother's house last night, and I went to go and pick him up basically. And as he was in the car with me, and now we have started way more now than before. Maybe not as much as I'd like to, but way more than when he was younger. It's just me and him going out. You know, sometimes I'll go and pick him up from somewhere. Like I pick up from school every day, right? So there's a periods where it's just me picking him up or me taking him in the morning, which I'm able to do, alhamdulillah. And because of that, I'm like, yo, I feel like a dad now because he's with me and I'm talking to him and we're having a conversation. And like today, like, you know, start talking about vegetables. So it's like, how many vegetables can you list? So he'd like shout all these different vegetables and I'd congratulate him on the vegetables. And then we moved on from vegetables, went to fruits and like that kind of stuff, right? And we're just talking, right? And I'm trying to like, he'll have questions now and I'll try and give him a mature answer, even if he doesn't 100% understand what I'm saying. Like he was asking me like, why there are no dinosaurs, right? He's like, where are all the, because I asked him, I thought I'd say, hey, what do you think's happened to all these dinosaurs? He's like, I don't know, I haven't seen any. And I was like, well, have you seen any real dinosaurs or are they fake ones? He goes, oh no, I've only seen the pretend dinosaurs. Like just getting this concept in his head. So I spoke about how Allah made dinosaurs first, and then, you know, I mean, let's not get into conspiracies, but whatever. He made dinosaurs first, and then, you know, all the dinosaurs died because Allah sent an asteroid or a meteorite. He liked the meteorite because that's something he knows about. And then obviously I said that Allah then made humans and animals and fish. You know, and then we're on the world. But just having that mature conversation with him, I was like, you know what, this is now what fatherhood is. Well, so when I compare him to my younger son, who's still 1.5, it's like, I love playing with him. I love, you know, messing about with him and stuff. But there's not much I can sort of teach him or, you know.
No, because the tarbiyah phase has not started yet.
Yeah, it hasn't started yet, yeah. So the ability to conversate, I think, that's when you feel like a dad. I think, and that's when you have to spend the time, and that's when you have to take them out and show them the world, and show them the world through our lens as Muslims, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you an example. So my son said something probably racist earlier, right? But he didn't really know what he's saying. But it shows you now they're highlighting differences, right? So my dad, obviously being sick, a nurse came to visit him in the house, and the nurse has got blue eyes, and obviously my son doesn't see blue eyes that often, I guess. So straight away, he started getting really shy and he doesn't like it when strangers are there. And apparently he ran to my mum and goes, oh, I don't like her, she's got blue eyes. And then I had to go teach him about different eye colours and how Allah made everybody and everybody's the same and everybody's got different eyes, but, you know, Allah made us all and we should all be nice to each other and stuff. And it's like, well, these are the responsibilities of the father, is to not shy away from difficult conversations, to be able to clearly just say it how it should be and how it is. And without like, I think maybe we do fall into this trap of, you know, making everything a childish sort of thing and they're too young to understand that, whatever. I would rather just say what I need to say in easy words, even if he doesn't 100% understand it, but at least I've, you know...
You plant the seeds.
Implant the seed. And then that way, I'm always aware that I've told him that and I can, you know, we can go back to that topic and talk about that topic again. Instead of that kind of dismissive, like, oh, you're too young, don't worry, when you're older, I'll tell you. You know, because there's a lot of that, at least in our generation, growing up, or when you're older, you understand, or when you're older, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell him now whether he understands it or not. And anything he doesn't understand, he'll tell me, he'll ask me, because that's how it goes. But if I constantly say to him, when you're older, I'll let you know, when you're older, I'll tell you, he'll never want to ask any questions. You know?
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Bit of a tangent there, but I just thought about that when I was driving. I was like, oh, my son's with me in the front seat, and we're doing dad things.
Yeah, that's how I see it. And it's like before age 2, it's like your role is like, obviously you support the mother because her life is getting difficult especially when the baby's that age. It's difficult, right? So you're supporting her, and and obviously you're paying for all the new things.
The new things. Yeah. Oh yeah. Obviously not everybody's like that. Not everyone's going to have that kind of family setup. You know, where the wife is at home and the father is working.
How did we end up here from How Do I Learn Marketing? Flipping how do you learn marketing? Literally, I can't give you a good answer other than go to muslimceo.com.
Hey.
What can I say? Someone else is saying, let me find. Oh, here's one, bro. I don't know if I want to deal with this in this episode, but someone said, Salaam alaikum. I was wondering if you could please do an episode on Brother Amin's move to Turkey.
Again?
And how that went for him. Moving to Turkey is something I'd consider in the near future. As Turkey is a beautiful country, I feel like it would be an interesting topic for discussion because it's something most people talk about, but rarely do to know how his process was in terms of language and work.
That's what I'm saying, bro. This is what I'm saying. Give the people what they want. I mean,
I think we did an episode on this.
Do you know what people need, realistically? Yeah.
What?
And maybe they can email and say if this is what they need. But they need like a step-by-step, like detailed, like this is the application I went through, and this is where I went to find a house, and this is where I went to do this, and this is where I went to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And these are the alternatives if you can't do this. Obviously, you're not going to know all the alternatives, but you can say, this is where I went, and this is where I did. Because it's that step-by-step, because people that are serious about moving, they're going to be stabbing in the dark, really, if they haven't got connections, right? So...
I mean, I know people who will do that. They'll explain everything step by step. They'll do it for you if you pay them a bit of money. However, I'll just say this, and then we can... Wait, what did you say?
I said Amin doesn't like money. That's why.
No, what I mean is they'll actually do the service of finding you a house, for example, or applying for the visa. Yeah, I won't do that, no matter how much you pay me. So all I want to say, then we can move on, is, like if I put someone in touch with someone that would help them to find a house and all that, they can't help them unless they know what they want. Okay. So, a lot of people, because I've been in these WhatsApp groups all to do with moving to Turkey, right? And a lot of the time people, sometimes they're naive, or sometimes they just don't really know what they want, or they want some utopian kind of thing, which is not realistic in the beginning. So just work out what you want. Do you want to live in a city? Do you want to live in a more rural place? Do you want to live with other foreigners, or do you want to live with locals? These kind of fundamental questions. Do you want to be in a big city where you might have, for example, more choice of schools, or you want to live in the middle of nowhere where there's much less choice of schools, or you want to do homeschooling so it doesn't matter? All of this, you need quite a lot of self-awareness to make the right decision, I believe. That's what I would say. You know what though, 90% of the time, if you're moving to a new country, you never lived there before, and you don't have family there or anything, probably you're going to want to move to a big city first. Probably, even if your end game is to move to the rural area, it's like the big city is going to have everything you need, everything you're used to. It's going to have more foreigners. It's going to have more people that will help you more, for example, English speaking or whatever language you speak. So that's what I'll say. Like, you need that self-awareness. You don't. It's funny, bro, because I told you I did kind of a Q&A on my own, like Hijrah one, and when I was going through that, I was thinking, a lot of people, there's two separate things. There's hijrah, like moving somewhere for the sake of your iman, etc., and there's being an immigrant. These are two separate things. And a lot of people who are trying to do hijrah, they've never been an immigrant. And it's something maybe I take for granted because I've kind of always been an immigrant, right? Like, as long as you're living in the UAE, you're an immigrant, right? You're never a citizen there, right? So it's like, I know what it's like to be an immigrant. I understand that. But many people, they don't know what it's like to be an immigrant. And maybe because they've never known otherwise, they think that when they move to another country, they're going to be the same as a citizen. But no, you will never be, or not never, but in the first 5 years or whatever, you're not going to be like a citizen. So that's something I thought of when I was recording that. I was thinking like, yeah, like being an immigrant in and of itself, that's a whole kind of, it's a different way of being to being a citizen.
Must be difficult to get stuff, surely. You know, like long-term stuff, like even like electric bills and internet stuff and phone contracts.
Well,
Like,
yeah, because life is so simple, so much simpler when you're a citizen of the country that you live in. Generally, you know, things are a lot simpler. You want to get a driving license, you go get your driving license. You don't need to translate your old driving license into the local one. You want to buy a land, you buy whatever land you want. For example, if in some countries they restrict land for foreigners, for example.
Yeah. But if you think about when you try and do anything in England, think of all the documents that you have to give them. Well, have you got your passport and your driving license? Yeah, of course I do. There you go, boom. Or how many job applications you go for, and it's like, oh, have you got, you know, you born in the UK? Yeah, sure. And then all the other boxes come.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It's like, imagine you're whatever foreigner and you're applying for a job in the UK. If you just don't tick the box of being British, you're going to have to provide a lot of different paperwork.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's probably the same and more.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And it's even worse in like less organized countries.
Oh, tell me about
even tougher. Yeah. Yeah, you know about that. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Okay, so did we cover this, Mohammed? So somebody said, Salam's the Mind Heist podcast team. We're a team, bro.
Yes.
I enjoyed listening to your podcast episode 114, Knitting and Masculinity, Reflections on Suicide and Isolation. The importance of good role models and understanding masculinity and femininity. There is still so much to be done in the community regarding the topic of gender identity, sexuality and Islam. We are a UK-based organisation that supports Muslims with issues around sexuality and gender identity. If you require support, please let us know. Oh, I thought it was a question. Oh, I never read this before, you know.
Oh, I have read this actually. Yeah, I read this.
Did you check them out? Are they legit?
I read it on my phone and then I forgot to go back and do my research.
Well, you know what I always do? I'm going to go on their website. I'm going to go to About Us. That's where I would usually go first and just see who's...
What are we about?
Okay, so the first thing is they've got an ayah in the Quran on their About page, right? Which, you know, like a dodgy organization probably wouldn't do that. What ayah is this? قال لو أن لي بكم قوة أو أوي إلى ركن شديد. Okay. Strong support was named after Prophet Lut alayhi salam. His plea in the verse 1180 of the Quran. If only I had against you some power or could take refuge in a strong support. Okay, understood.
Nice.
So, okay, a word from Ali. So, so the guy who actually contacted us is this Ali guy. He's a life coach and he helps Muslims address their unwanted same-sex lust. Oh. Interesting.
Okay, I'm just looking. There's a bit where they've got an LGBT stance, which is
that's what I was going to go to next. LGBT stance. Is it long? It's not that long. What do they say? We do not hold hatred towards LGBT groups. If anything, they're just like us. Their journeys are similar, even if we opted for a different path. We are all aware. We are well aware of the discrimination, hate and prejudice the LGBT community faces. We call for self-determination and equality. We uphold freedom of speech and freedom of religion. We do not oppose individual rights. The thing is, bro, you know, like when you make this kind of statement, if you say certain things certain ways, you could be in trouble with the law, right? So you kind of have to tiptoe. Is that correct? Or
yeah, it's an explorative part of at least in the West or at least in the UK. They're still trying to iron out what they want. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to mix up the law with cancel culture, right? It's easy to mix up with what is acceptable socially and what's actually illegal or what's actually in the law. And even I mix that up all the time.
Okay.
So There
I
is
don't
another
think.
bit about conversion there. It's quite long, so I think he'd really need to kind of go
Yeah.
through it, maybe offline.
I don't think they're a registered charity or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, like, it's interesting because there's certain things here where just as I'm glancing at it, I'm not 100% sure I agree with it as I'm glancing, but maybe I need to read it deeper. But ultimately, there are going to be people, like we mentioned in that episode. I think it was that episode. There are going to be people that struggle with certain things, and they need some help without the baggage of judgment and the baggage of people's perceptions and stuff. They're going to need some help. It's similar to, I say similar, but the sort of taboo nature of it is similar to those. I see them advertised quite a lot now. They've got like these purify your gaze and other stuff where it's like these support groups to help people that are addicted to pornography and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a need basically, and a need that hasn't been filled for probably many years, and now
Yeah.
in terms of a focused sort of support group for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
may Allah guide them and make it of benefit. I suppose that's the ultimate thing we can say.
I mean,
That knitting episode, bro, good times. Although my view, obviously, that was when I first was exposed to brother Gabriel Romani, but since then, I've been Romanized, bro.
really?
A bit more, yeah. I think obviously that video, I must have seen it out of context. I've never seen any other video of his before.
Yeah.
But then since then, as I was advised, by some of my friends, they're like, "Oh, you've kind of watched that video out of context. You should watch everything that he does, and then you'll see why within the context of all of his videos, it makes sense. Outside of that, it's like, oh, who's this guy just commenting on this? So within that context, I was a lot more like appreciative of what the message was there, and I think it was
Mashallah. That's a success story, bro.
yeah, bro.
Because I'm half joking and half serious, because it shows that if you have like husn dhan and you're open-minded, then you actually, it's a crazy idea, I know, but you actually can change your mind.
Oh yeah.
Which a lot of times when you see people debating online or whatever, it's like no matter what you say, they're not going to change their mind, and that's their weakness. You need to be open-minded and
But I think people also like take opinions, which are very clearly their opinions or someone else's opinions, but usually they take their opinion of something and assimilate that to Quran and Sunnah like they're one-to-one, when actually there's a lot of space outside of what the Quran and Sunnah have mentioned that is just pure opinions.
What's an example? What do you mean?
That video, for example, the knitting thing,
Yes.
a lot of that was an opinion-based thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like some people are saying knitting is fine, some people are saying it's not. It's all about context, and it's all about the opinions of the person who's saying it and where they come from and what the background is and what the culture is, right? So there's so much there. So for some people watching that video, they would say the Quran and Sunnah is against this knitting nonsense, we shouldn't do the knitting, right? Other people might say that from a different angle and say, no, look, the Prophet ﷺ mended his clothes, so the Quran and Sunnah says it's fine. When actually, a lot of that is based on the times that we live in, the cultures that we're surrounded in, the benefit. Ultimately, no scholar is going to come and say knitting is haram, and no scholar is going to say,
it's wajib.
It's wajib, whatever, right? But the people are different. The people in the comment section of those videos are going to treat it as if it is haram, as if what he did do is haram, or some people are going to treat it as if it is wajib and you should do stuff like this with your daughters and whatever. So we cloud, we cloud it. I understand, like the,
But why are people so? Why are they so get so emotional about someone having a different opinion to them? I can't get my head around it.
Because it goes back to the age-old problem of the internet, where we assume that everybody that we interact with online in the comment section and stuff are the same age as us, so they should automatically have the same maturity as us. When actually, you realize that loads of people online are really, really young and they haven't gone through their journey yet. So I'll give you an example. Like I'll go. Sometimes, although I deleted a lot of my tweets, sometimes I will find stuff that I tweeted a long time ago, years ago, 10 years ago, right? And just the way I used to talk and the way I used to write things was just so like oh, I felt like a 12-year-old writing stuff like that. Like some of the messages or whatever I'd write on Twitter and stuff, or the tweets I'd write, I was just like, why would I? That's so cringe. Like, why would I say something so weird and cringe like that? And then it made me think, oh, I bet you I used to comment like these people that are commenting now on these videos, right? I bet that was so immature of me, or the opinions I had were so black and white, or whatever. When you see Abu Abdullah or whatever commenting on a video, you instinctively just think that person is also in his mid to late 20s, and why would he say something so stupid? You don't think about their age, you don't think about where they come from, you don't think about their
So
background.
you're saying that none of this would happen if people have to be 30 to get onto social media?
Not just, no, it's not that. I think we have a inclination to think that everyone that we interact with is our peer group, right? So if you're watching a video of, let's say, Gabriel Romani, right, on that video, if you're watching that video, and because you're watching it, you then assume that the whole audience is also very much like you, because they're all interested in the same thing, not realizing that there's huge fluctuations in people's age, level of maturity, where they're from, what their cultures are, etc., and even how they use the internet, right? And that varies as well. I think there is this golden group of internet users, right? And it could be possibly around our age. It could be maybe a bit older.
Bro, what's this golden group, bro? Where do I cash in my gold?
I'll tell you why. My father commenting on something on the internet is probably ridiculous and equally outlandish, just like just like young kids might. Okay, there isn't this edeb of internet usage yet.
Just imagine him typing out Hmar.
Stuff like this. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like like the elderly generation, right? Them using the internet is almost similar to maybe a child using the internet, only in the adab element, okay? Mainly in the adab element. There is a fiqh of using social media, that or the internet in general, that not everybody's aware of, right? And I think we're at an age where we've kind of grown up with it, and we know the do's and don'ts, and we know what's going to benefit and what's not. Some people are just going to throw their opinion out, and they're going to think that's it. Like, everything has to be replied to, everything has to be commented on, everything has to be a debate. Obviously, there's going to be people that are our age that do the same thing. They get involved in every single debate.
Yeah, so why do they do it?
Because I don't know, bro.
Because
I'm not going to come up with
what I thought you were going to say, what I was thinking is it must be insecurity, right?
I think there are some people that they don't have any buffers between what they see and what they want to change, right? So they feel like...
Or what they think and what they say.
Yeah, what they think and what they say. Or like I don't know if we comment and reply to things because we truly feel like we're going to change someone's opinion, or we just want to vent and rage and let things out there. Because I don't think I've ever...
venting,
yeah, I don't think I've ever convinced anyone of changing their mind on like a comment section.
Yeah.
Or a tweet like, "Oh,
it is mostly venting." Stupid? But I'm just saying, look, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm just saying what I do and then versus what I see. So if I see some of these crazy Muslim feminists, what they write, sometimes I come across it. Yeah. Now, obviously, I might completely disagree. What do I do? That I just like read it. I'm like, well, not another one, and I was like, Allah yahdiha, and I move on, right?
Yeah.
Whereas others, I see them either, for example, going nuts, saying all this stuff about her, bad things, whatever. Yeah. So what's the difference there? Is it like, that's what I'm just trying to really understand. I don't think they think they're going to change. Maybe they do think they're going to change something by doing it.
I think it is the rage. It's like a manifestation of that anger, and I don't think there is a maturity there to just put it in its place. And there's an element of like commanding the good and forbidding the evil. Someone could look at me not replying and say, "Oh, you should have commanded the good there and forbidden the evil, right? You should have done something there. You saw something that was wrong, and you didn't challenge it, right?" So maybe I'm in the wrong.
You could say that, but there is details to this forbidding the evil,
of course.
Right? The detail is that the action you take to remove the evil should logically lead to the evil being removed.
But it ties up with this culture of maybe cancellation and refutation and stuff that, not for the scholars, but that the general layman has taken upon themselves. For example, somebody makes a sin public, right? Like publicly sinning. How many videos are made about that person's public sin, right? And then when someone comments, "Why didn't you advise him?" He goes, "Oh, akhi, he did this publicly, so I'm going to advise him publicly," right? but really, I'm led to believe that that's a very small percentage of your intention. Your intention is probably, get some hits, get some views, even if even on a subconscious level. And I think that's what people don't realize. Like, I'm not saying that people's active intention is to get those views and get that buzz, right? But I think on a subconscious level, you're like, oh, bro, I mean, so and so, look what so and so's just done. We need to make a video about this. That's what happens. But you don't realize what you've just said there. You haven't said, oh, bro, we need to advise him about this. Or, bro, we need to get in touch with him about this. Do you know what I mean? We're like, bro, we need to make a video about this. Do you know what I mean? And maybe I might have fallen into that on the podcast. I might have said to you, oh, bro, we need to do an episode about this. But am I actually talking about advising that person, or am I just talking about, oh, this is a hot topic and we need to cash in on it? And it's interesting to see that, because we do live in
still
that
waiting
age.
for the cash, by the way.
Bro, I ain't gonna cash now, bro. Not from me. You don't like money, remember? Oh, well. But you see what I mean? It's very deep, bro. And, I know that maybe if it hasn't done already, in 5-10 years, bro, there's going to be some, modern day, giants of knowledge that are going to write like giant books on like the fiqh of social media and the fiqh of internet usage and stuff. Because, bro, think about it. Like, this technology is kind of rapidly advanced. A lot of the old school scholars and the huge giants that we know of, you can't really talk too much in detail about this stuff. They wouldn't have discussed it too much in detail. In fact, loads of them would have not even wanted smartphones, let alone, they wouldn't have had a smartphone, let alone advocate the usage of one, right? But now you've got like, shuyukh, ulama, etc., getting their PhDs, and they've grown up in the West. I'll give you an example, like Sheikh Tahir White, for example, revert from America. He's got his PhD. Now he teaches in Medina, right? I'm sure he's very tech savvy because he's grown up in that age. Somebody like him and others like him and those that continue forward, social media is going to be like a cup of coffee, bro. It's going to be so predominant within everybody's culture that there is going to have to be some sort of fiqh lessons about it and how to use it, when's best to reply and when's best to do this. And do you know what I mean? Like, applying all of these things to the world that we...
Yeah. There is a book, by the way, called Fiqh of Social Media. And I have not read it, but I would actually... kind of recommend it, because the guy that wrote it, his name's Omar Uthman, and he's a serious guy. He's got a podcast. He's not that regular with it, but he's a good guy, and he's probably definitely consulted scholars and stuff when writing it.
I didn't know this existed, so
could be
this is very good.
Book. Yeah.
4.5 out of 5. Actually, it's 5 stars on Amazon by 43 reviews.
Mashallah. So
maybe that's what I need. No, I think it's really important, Akhi. I think
I just live my life thinking, look at the world, yeah. Not like less than half the world are Muslim. So already I know there's like billions of people who don't think right, yeah, or they don't believe right, or whatever, right? Like, there's so many different people, different opinions. Like, I don't know, I just accept that people will think differently. Obviously, some people I would say they're wrong in what they think or say, and some people I would agree with, right? Ultimately, Allah's going to judge if they were right or wrong. I don't know.
Bro,
right?
Have you ever screamed at someone from within your car because someone's cut you off? Have you just shouted at the top of your lungs? Yeah. Have you ever done that in the street to someone, though, face to face? Probably way less, if ever.
Yeah, I can just think of one time.
Yeah. That is because the car gives you this aura of safety and anonymity.
Yes.
Even though there's a glass screen in between you, you
Yes.
feel safe in that thing. You feel like, right? And that's exactly the internet, bro.
Yeah, you're
Like,
right. This is a big factor.
Out.
Yeah,
you just rage out and you're just like, this idiot. But in person, you wouldn't say a word,
Yeah.
So there's that element of it. Allah knows best.
If someone just like comments on one of them ones, you should just message them and be like, here's my number, let's talk about it.
Let's talk.
Bro, you could just hand your number out, bro, because no one will actually call you.
Right, I don't put my number on the internet, man. It's just a pranks. No, but it's true, bro. It's I think it's obviously all these things that we speak about are often, multi-layered, and they're full of so many different factors that influence them, and they're all unique to each individual person. So it's hard to obviously, make it all narrow down into a nice, succinct answer. But yeah, bro, I suppose we're just exploring it on the mind heist, aren't we? Exploring all the...
You're saying about scholars are going to come and write about this. I found kind of humorous. You know, Muhammad Hijab, he did this lecture series called Londoniya.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Because,
yeah,
you know, you got your like Aqidah Wasatiyya,
yeah,
Aqidah Hamawiyya, and those are cities, right? So he
yeah.
did Londoniya.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I did see the thumbnail. I just don't click videos as often as I used to.
I reckon that would be a good series. I do intend to go through it because he's just talking about these ideological or philosophical phenomena that are like deeply affecting people in the West, at least. So yeah, that stuff is important to understand in order to understand. It's like the episode we did like with Jalal, right? These are the underpinning like thoughts or ideologies that influence a lot of things.
And ultimately, the common non-Muslim in the UK, for example, won't even be aware that those are the ideologies that are influencing their own behaviour, right? So actually breaking it down before they even discover it is quite an impactful way of giving dawah. You know, like people are born into this society and they just accept things the way they are, not realizing that there's completely different, pressures that are influencing them in that way, whether it is capitalism, individualism, and all this other stuff. So it's interesting to break that sort of stuff down.
Allah yahdina, man. Do you think?
I was going to say, sorry, even retrospectively, we also take those ideologies and then like put them on like the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ and then start viewing.
Yeah.
The example is like, the whole love and the romance and the Hollywood sort of style thing of love and romance. We take that and then we go and apply that, or we go and imprint that on the Prophet ﷺ's life. And it's like, oh, look how romantic the Prophet ﷺ was. But it's like, take that thing away and just read it as it is and try and understand the culture of that time and look at it through that lens. Don't look at it through the Hollywood lens and the movie lens and the cinematic lens, because we often do that,
Those people, let them learn Arabic and read from the original sources.
Exactly, bro.
That would probably change their mind or change their perception, yani.
Yeah.
You know, like it was Abdullah. I want to say it was Abu Bakr's son, called Abdullah. He married a woman, right, called Atiqa, I guess so. And later on, actually, I found that she married 9 different Sahaba. Anyway, so he married her, and he was like, kind of obsessed with her, and he actually one day he missed Jummah because he was like so just like chilling with her, whatever, yeah. And his dad came back after Jummah, and he's like, "You're still here?" Like, he's like, "Oh, you prayed?" He's like, "Yeah." Right. And then he told him, like, he's like, "Your wife has distracted you from Allah, so divorce her." And he divorced her.
Yeah.
So he dropped her like that, because of he missed Salah. Like, come on, big deal. And I guess he's humble enough to accept that, he flopped and this was a distraction. And as much as he loved her or whatever, he's got to put Allah first. But later on, he kind of like, him and his wife, they both felt kind of guilt about it. And then they remarried afterwards. So, yeah, this is just like one of those kind of real life stories of what happened.
Yeah, it shows you how different things are. Some things are going to line up with what your perceptions are of, what marriage should be, or what life should be, or what responsibility should be. Other things are going to completely throw you off that perception. And only the famous stuff that aligns is what we hear about so popularly, right? It's the things that you're not too aware of that's going to skew your understanding of how people live.
It's the Khadija as a businesswoman phenomenon.
This is it. Honestly, may Allah guide us and allow us to see things for how they should be and how they are and work.
Like that one brother sent us an email with that dua, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'a. Yeah.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Allah provide us with Allahumma arina al-haqq, show us the truth as truth, and provide us with the ability to follow it.
Got to break it down, bro. Everything needs to be broken down.
I think we actually dealt with the majority.
One question. I felt like it was loads of emails when I checked on my phone.
Yeah, but a lot of them are like, can you promote this for us, or can we do this collab, or
really? We got collab requests.
Yeah, but they're so old that it's the boat has sailed.
We did this discount code for you. It's expired.
Well, somebody I think we don't have time for like this because they were requesting us to do a whole episode on it. So let's skip that one. Okay, let's just wrap up with this. It's a YouTube comment. So it's from episode 132, so 2 episodes ago. Loved this episode. I feel cancer culture falls into another narrative that is dictated by the media. Soon, anyone outside of the liberalist agenda will be shut down or not free to speak. Bro, have you heard, this just made me think about, have you heard of what's happening in Australia? Like, obviously some people gonna know a lot more than me, and it'd be great if someone in Australia, specifically, I heard Melbourne is the crazy place, could let us know what it's like. But what I heard is in Australia they've gone so hardcore with this lockdown and just like taking full control since Corona kind of started. And I know for a fact that they, for over a year, I think, they're not allowing anyone in or out. Like, very difficult to get in or out, and including out. Like, imagine you can't get out, right? It's not like you can't get in. That's maybe more understandable. You can't get out. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I heard like for isolating, for staying at home, they created this app where you have to take a selfie or something showing you're at home, and it has some sort of AI that will know if that photo was real or photoshopped or something like that. And then I really don't understand the details of this, but apparently they cut off a part of the city. They built a wall in the city separating sections. So it's like, even apparently like families were separated or something. I really don't understand why they would do that, but I heard that. And it's from quite a legit source, but I just don't know the details, right? And then another thing was like, it's like the default is you can't go outside. The default's you need permission to go out. You need permission to do stuff. Like, it sounds nuts.
This, I mean, you know what? Have you ever watched like those sort of like baggage handler shows and airport shows? Where
Yeah.
Australia's one was always the most extreme.
Really?
You know?
Okay.
Yeah, Australia always had such rigorous sort of, rules and regulations for what you can bring in and out, because it is such an isolated place in the world.
Yeah.
So anything can tip its ecosystem all over the place. Like, even like wildlife, they've experienced that through wildlife, for example, in the past. Like, I remember they had like this plague of frogs or toads once, because someone brought this toad or a couple of toads or whatever, and they escaped, something like that. And because there was no natural predator for that, it just literally took over the country. Same with a lot of
camels as well.
Yeah, same with a lot of things. So, and I think it's similarly with diseases and similarly with sort of infections and illnesses. So they basically are extremely vulnerable because they're so far away from anything. Obviously, it's a massive island in the middle of technically nowhere in terms of the ocean, right? They are so vulnerable in that sense that could probably explain whether that's because they are actually extra vulnerable of COVID, or if it's because they have got this history of like, this is how we did things in the past. We need to do what we did in the past and take that into overdrive because this is dominating the entire world. You know, in terms of the rules and regulations, what you can do.
You're saying that they started out as a prison and they want to return to being a prison.
Not even that. They started out as like a medium security prison and now they're supermax, you know, whilst we're all medium security prisons because we've never been in prison before, you know. But this is it, bro.
Yeah,
you know?
So I'm just saying that because they're talking about the liberalist agenda, etc. And I mean, I think I already mentioned this in previous episodes, but it feels like there's something going on in the sense where if you say something that is against the mainstream opinion, social media platforms might shut you down. And then when you're shut down from there, it's like, okay, how can you get the word out? Okay, you can go to your local people, but then if there's like a lockdown, okay, now you can't go. So now it's like fully controlled.
It's bro, all of society, Western society, bro, it's opened up. It really is the can of worms, you know. It's literally, if you think of the can of worms, the saying, you've opened up a can of worms, that's basically what it is. Like, Islam teaches us that there's certain cans you just don't open, you know. It is what it is. That can is a can of worms. Don't open it.
What do you mean exactly in this context?
Like, in all sort of context of the rights and wrongs of what should be done and what should be imposed. I'm moving on a bit from the lockdown thing, but also like, you know, like what we were talking about in terms of society trying to find what is the right and what is the wrong and where's the the haqq and where's the batil, and how can everybody who feels a particular way, that's their right to feel that way, and then at what point of the spectrum do we start imposing things? Because historically we impose that there's boys and girls. Now we're saying that there's all sorts of different genders, but then that also has to be imposed. You can't just let that happen, because it won't happen on its own. It also needs to be imposed on the masses. So you have to share your pronouns, and you have to, do you know what I mean? You have to accept this. And that individual, if that one individual feels a particular way, then we must impose on the entire society that they treat that individual in a particular way. Right? So it's a can of worms, basically. And
it just feels like a small group of entities have more and more control over imposing those things, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also the unthreading of society. Like, if I take every single thread out of this, whatever it is, this jacket, whatever, and I have to like really inspect every single bit of it and question every single bit of it. Before you know it, bro, I don't have it anymore. I've just got loads of threads. I haven't got a jacket anymore, a cohesive piece of clothing that serves its purpose. In fact, I've questioned this purpose so much so that even if I try and put it back together, I'm not going to be able to put it back together, because the threads are all individualized, And it's like, oh, I feel like this today, or I'm this today, or I identify as this. Bro, like, I am going to put in my pronoun. Like, if I ever leave my job, bro, last month, I'm going to put in my pronouns. Like, I identify as an attack helicopter, and I'm going to sue anybody who says otherwise, And you must, bro. Do you know what? I said this to my family the other day. Yeah, I said that it's more realistic for me to identify as the boss of this organization or company than it is for them to identify as a completely different gender. Right? Like, it's more realistic that I am the boss of this company, so I should identify myself as the boss of this company and see how far I go. I make the decisions. I wear the uniform. I come to work every day. I'm the boss of this company. This office is mine. I identify as being the boss of this office. Stuff like that. Like, how different can we get? Maybe I've reduced the argument so far down, but I feel like it's...
Bro, you should identify as whoever's in charge of payroll.
That's it. I identify as being paid twice as much as I am being paid right now. So let's sort it out.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. I do wonder about how much this stuff will impact the Muslim world.
I do. I always said on Mind Heist, at least, that I do have this theory that the West is going to get to a certain point that the Muslim world is going to look at it and be like, oh, no, we're going to backtrack a bit because you've just ruined your society. There's a civil war now. Well done. We don't want that. This is a blip in history, and historians are going to look at this and think, yo, that society went on a
what kind of drugs are they taking?
You know what I mean? Honestly, we look back at the downfall of other societies, right? And we're like, oh, why are they so stupid? Why do they go down that rabbit hole? This is just one of those times in history, bro. They're going to look at this modern day and be like, yo, these guys, they used to identify as like attack helicopters.
Yeah.
The
problem is the tools for control are there, and they're probably not going away. So whatever the ideology is, whether we agree with it, disagree, or whatever, it's like people are going to be entities like social media platforms or like governments or whatever. They're going to be able to enforce a certain way of thinking. Like today it might be whatever, liberalism, but tomorrow it might be something else, communism or whatever.
But also there's I think that's because we are quite blasé to the undiscovered sort of tools that Muslims in general especially haven't tapped into, whether that's like, I mean, no one talks about the dark web anymore. That's still there. Do you know what I mean? No, but I'm saying in terms of like an area of untapped expression, okay? A place where you can express yourself without having, the masses haven't reached it yet.
So
but in the same
you're
way,
saying people will be forced to that corner of the
internet. I think those, like, it reminds me of the whole cryptocurrency argument, right? When Bitcoin was God knows how much, like pennies, people didn't care about it. And now that it's becoming a popular thing, all sorts of senators and all sorts of politicians and like countries have adopted it, right? And that's seemingly a form of financial freedom where it's decentralized and it's
Yes.
very difficult for them. So similarly with everything else, I think everything else is going to follow. Like the
That's
dark web,
true.
bro. Do you know what I mean? The dark web is like it's like a blip. It's like this secret thing, just like crypto was like 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Sorry. But similarly, bro, as this pressure comes up, like, okay, Trump tried to make a
Social
social media the
platform,
other day,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And obviously, you know, that's gone crazy. But at the same time, that can easily just be taken down and censored by the government themselves,
Yeah.
right? They could just be like,
So you're saying basically like make Telegram based on blockchain.
well,
And
stuff like
but
this.
the thing is, bro, when I think of that, I think, okay, yeah, like we have the tools to get freedom money wise, like you're saying, and even communication. You know, we could probably build a blockchain based messaging thing and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But is that even right? Like, let's say, you know, Muslim governments are trying to strengthen their country, control their economy, in you know, for positive results. And now you've got cryptocurrency, which is completely out of their control. Is that a good thing?
But the thing is, you say that, but Muslim countries, and not to open up a can of worms again, Muslim countries, a lot of them are already under control from the West because all their money is in dollars and all their reserves are in other. Like look at Afghanistan, for
Yeah,
example.
I get that. Yeah.
Afghanistan is completely locked out of its own finances because all the money is in America. So America said, "Oh, we don't, you know, we don't want no Taliban leaders anymore. We're not going to work with you." Boom, froze all their accounts. Now they're falling into extreme poverty, right? So they are, and I see it on Twitter, bro. People are sending Bitcoin as charity to these farmers and these families in Afghanistan to help them look after themselves, feed themselves, and they're already trying to trade. And then there's all these people that are you know, maybe diaspora Afghanis that are messaging the leaders and the politicians and stuff in Afghanistan at the moment and saying, listen, we want you guys to explore cryptocurrency. This is a way of you detaching yourself from the West and detaching yourself from this imposition from America, etc. So there is that element. Bro, like it reminded me of like the whole Libya thing about Gaddafi wanting to go back to the gold standard and they were like, nah, and they got rid of him. If Gaddafi was alive today, bro, and he knew about, you know, obviously whatever opinions everyone has about Gaddafi, but that sort of mindset, if he knew about this crypto thing or this anything about decentralization, anything that takes power away from any other country, from the status quo, any other country, like, you know, it looks like fiat currencies are suddenly going to be a blip in history, bro. In fact, you know, like cash might end up being a blip, bro, that never really, like in the long history of humankind, bro, this period of where we were using cash probably is going to be like a blip, because actually historically there was a standard.
I mean, fiat currencies are only, I think, 50 years old, I think.
Yeah, this is it. It would just be a blip. But because we're in that blip, we feel like it's forever, and this is, you know, cash is king and it's normal. But it's the same,
I'll make a prediction, then we can end.
Go on.
My prediction is that cryptocurrencies will never go mainstream.
Oh, I think the opposite.
My argument is that the people who control the financial world system would just never allow it. They'll literally rather prefer the whole world burn.
See, I think, this is my theory, I think maybe on the face of it they'll say that, but there's actually such a huge number of independent people that are richer than any government or politicians that benefit from cryptocurrency more than the government would benefit from taxing it. So because of that, it's these individuals that are funding and financing and promoting it. I'll give you an example. You know, years ago, the space race was done by governments and countries. Now the space race is done by individuals, right? And it's the same way. Like these people, these millionaires, billionaires, whatever you want to call them, have got so big and they've been trying to dodge taxes and all sorts of stuff for such a long time. And they've been doing that by shaking hands with politicians, right? I'll give you an example. You want to get really rich, but you keep getting taxed by the people that you're trying to please all the time. Oh, I'll send you money. I'll fund your next, political campaign, and I'll shake your hands for the photos and stuff. What if I could say to you, you can get even richer, and you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to mix, rub shoulders with all these people that you don't actually care about. The only reason you'll be like, yeah, sure, this is your avenue of doing so. No longer do I have to go and shake hands with the next president and host all these parties and promote all these, because it doesn't matter anymore, because my money and that which benefits me is now independent from the state.
Yeah, but don't you think it would get to the point, and I'm not necessarily even talking about governments here, I'm talking about the type of people that own, control central banks and this kind of people. I mean, I feel like somebody really leading the charge on that kind of thing, they would just, end up in some helicopter accident.
Yeah.
And obviously, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying
Yeah.
it's impossible. I'm just saying that it's such a big threat to those kind of people that they would do everything possible to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like it's weird because I feel like that would have happened already.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good point.
China, for example, banned the mining of cryptocurrencies, and
Yeah.
then recently, maybe even a few days ago, there was papers coming out saying, "Oh, they're actually thinking of unbanning it."
Yeah,
You
but
know,
that's what I think they're going to do is they're going to make a government cryptocurrency.
yeah, but then what's the point? What's the difference then?
There's no point for us
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's no point
I
for
mean,
that
I'm
people.
not even looking at it as like because we have to also obviously acknowledge that there's a huge percentage of people that are just in it to get quick money, right?
Yeah.
I'm more fascinated with the technology side. I'm not. I'm waiting for this whole like big craze and this boom in price and everything to just kind of end and it to actually become the standard, right? Because that's what's interesting and that's what's fascinating. Not the whole, oh, if I buy, 5 coins and now I'm going to make 5,000. Obviously, that's fun.
Hodl.
That's obviously exciting and everything. But actually, it's the technology that fascinates me. It's like, yo, we've made something that is like, it's like a mineral on Earth. Like you can't get it. You can't duplicate it. But it is immature at the moment. It is full of hype. It is full of a mess, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry's coming up with a coin or some sort of crypto that's going to be the next big thing. And it's circular, bro. Like Joe Bradford tweeted this really recently. He's like, how do you know that something is basically just a hype and it's just crap? Basically, it's all circular reasoning. It's always promoting and referring to itself, and the people that talk about it only talk about the coin and not about its usage, about what it is, what it stands for. It's like, oh, this next thing is going to the moon. What is it? It's the thing. But yeah, but what is that? It's just this thing. This guy made it, but it's, put your money, buy some because it's going up, and that's it. Yeah, this is it. But it's not actually about the whole story of hey, this is like decentralized currency. This is how it's because at the end of the day, Bitcoin didn't have to be currency, bro. It could have just been a rock, bro. Oh, this rock at the beach that we have, this is now currency. Invest, exchange your money. And that's like, it could have been anything, just like it was gold before, just like it was seashells in some societies, or chocolate beans, cocoa beans in other societies. Like every society at some point in time had its currency that wasn't necessarily cash.
I remember probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was in this WhatsApp group, it was full of e-commerce, like business owners, Muslims.
Yeah.
But also they were all getting into crypto. And they were talking about, okay, what will be the cryptocurrency that people are going to start using to pay for stuff like on Amazon or whatever. And they're like, oh, I think it's going to be this. I think it's going to be this. And they're investing accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, 4 or 5 years later, none of them are close to being like that,
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know what stopped it really, because it does make sense, but
I think it's a long journey. I think it just fascinates me. I think, these times will be remembered. I think these are big things that are happening. When I read about it, I see like this would have been unheard of years ago. Things we just took things for the way they were. But then again, we were also younger and maybe weren't too aware of the changes in society. But there are definitely massive, bro. Like, have you seen? Not to keep this podcast going for too long, but even Facebook did like a conference. Was it yesterday or the day before, where they announced that they're putting like millions or billions into this project called the metaverse. Have you heard about the metaverse?
No, I heard that they're investing 10 billion in VR. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so this is it. It's like a metaverse where essentially it's like the next internet, right? They're sort of promoting it as this is like internet 2.0, where it's like kind of like those movies. It's kind of like a Matrix style where you now
Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One. Yeah, you enter the thing. You don't just see it from the screen. You're in the internet. You're in like so. Yeah. Maybe you walk to the digital shop. It's like a video game kind of. But you want to search stuff, you want to explore stuff, you want to see stuff. It's like you want to go into a car. It's all basically instead of all these, because at the moment we have like 360 video, we have VR, we have all this stuff, and it's all very much separate. I need to get off this website and go onto this website, and then go into this thing. It's all one place. It's all kind of. It's a world,
Yeah, it's gonna be. I can see that happening, and it's just so scary because that will be the vegetization of humans, basically.
I was going to say to a friend of mine, I said, I'm going to make the first dawah table in the metaverse, bro. I'm just going to be sitting there, bro, with my table and my headset on. I'll be like, Assalamu alaikum. You want to come talk about Islam? Come talk about Islam. Here's some leaflets, some digi leaflets. Oh, look, that's my Pokemon. I mean, I have all sorts, bro. Bro, listen, they're trying to make Jannah on Earth, bro. It ain't going to happen. Anyway, let's. My kids need to eat. And I'm clearly
What are they going to eat?
in the kitchen.
Oh.
You know, my kitchen is my office and my lounge.
Cool, bro. Good episode.
Yalla.
Send your questions in. We do answer them, as you see, and I don't think we have many like in the queue, so we'll probably answer it soon, inshallah. Go to mindhouspodcast.com to do that. Yeah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum, kids.